free on that asphalt lane. 4 wide at Talladega, they ain't holding no chain.
Gordon dropped back Cuthbert, and we get Peggy. Bars and America songbox, paper is down to tea.
4 cars side by side in a wild thrill ride, with the roar of the engines leaving all doubts behind. As the wheels spin on, chasing dreams we can't hide. That's car life where legends never die.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 4 Wide podcast once again. And oh my gosh, who is this guy? Who is this goatee guy sitting, well, not sitting beside of me, but kind of, we are beside each other on the frame. It is our boy, Austin. How are you doing today, buddy?
Good to be back.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm going to go ahead and just reciprocate if you missed it last week. They had their darling kid, him and Hope both did, so he is now enjoying fatherly duties, so you can expect him to not be on the podcast very frequently. He said he might hop in every once in a while when he gets a free chance, but the man's already looking at races, like potential races he can go to already. He's plotting a course, kind of like the map in his head, but he doesn't have the physical map in his hand when it comes to understanding what he has going on right now. But Austin knows a little bit about that, just a little bit.
Yeah. He's got a lot to learn.
Yes, he does. I don't only have a kid, and I feel like I know more than he does sometimes. But we're going to recap the Las Vegas weekend. Of course, we did not have the Truck Series. They will be making their return at Darlington, which love Darlington, great track. I've never been to one. It's one of those historic venues you walk in and you feel very much old school. But before we get to that, we get to talk about the wondrous race that was Las Vegas for the O'Reilly and the Cup race. So in regards to the O'Reilly race, the guy that won the race was not necessarily a shocker. A guy that's usually really good there on the Cup level. And it seems like whenever he does make a return in the lower series, if it's a truck or Xfinity / O'Reilly race, he's usually in top contention, and he was the guy that eventually got it done. So
it's not a surprise, right? I mean, this dude he kills mile and a halves for the most part in the Cup series, and you put him into O'Reilly Auto Parts series, and I mean, he's stated it before in interviews that he wants to humble these Xfinity drivers and show them what Cup racing looks like. But it's not like he led every single lap of the race. His car was in contention. In fact, his teammate, I think he had the most laps led in the race by one lap. So it's not like Larson was the only car that was up front the whole day. But it just, at the end of the day, when Larson goes up against these auto parts guys, you see the skill gap, you see the experience gap, and I think that was a little evident in the past and in this weekend as well.
Yeah. We also had Briscoe racing this weekend. He finished second. That's one thing we mentioned in our Pick'em series last week is don't sleep on the guy that was in the 19 car, because majority of last year, whoever was in the 19, which it was Eric Almirola for majority of it last year, that car was always fast, so don't sleep on it. And of course, Briscoe had a really good day. Didn't lead a ton of laps, I don't believe, but he kind of did something that's kind of you don't really expect at Las Vegas. It's something that you would expect more Kyle Larson to do, as he just ran the wall for majority of the race, and he was carrying really good momentum off the top. And obviously, if you guys watch Briscoe at Darlington the last 2 years, you know that he works really well against the wall. It's kind of really great for him, dirt track routes in regards to that. So it's kind of makes a lot of sense. But he was chasing him down, but at the end of the day, it seemed like Larson had the better overall long run car and kind of just tailed away with it. So that was great to see. Sam Mayer started out on the pole in this race, I do believe, and he got into some misfortunes, ended up finishing like 30-something, which Haas Factory, for the start of the year, man, they've been pretty strong. Obviously, Sheldon Creed got his first career O'Reilly / Xfinity / Busch Series / Nationwide Series win ever. They've had speed almost every week. Obviously, being able to qualify up front like Mayer did, and Creed ended up finishing third, I believe, in this race. It shows how strong of a system that they got for that series. I just wish they were able to replicate those assets into the Cup level, because Cole Custer's still up there struggling at this point.
The man's drowning.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
drowning.
And it's really not much they can do. They're a single car resource team. They can change their partnerships or manufacturers, whatever. But at the end of the day, how are you going to compete with grandfather teams of 4 drivers for, a cup level ride? It's tough to compete against.
Creed, he's been stringing together some good finishes this season, but then, like you say, you look over in the Cup Series and, poor Custer. Is it bad I forget sometimes that he's in the Cup Series because I never see him on TV. I see Riley Herbst more than I do see Cole Custer, which is sad too. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm taking a quick gander here at the points, and Cole Custard is rocking currently in 34th in points of the 38. For context, Alex Bowman's 36 in points, and he's been out of the car for 2 weeks now. And Zilich is 35th, and it's his rookie year. He's not had a great start, but we kind of knew that coming in. We talked about how we expected him to struggle compared to if Corey Heim got into a full-time ride. I feel like Heim's more adaptability for these rides would be more straight out of the gun, especially having a couple starts on oval tracks like Bristol and driving for 2311, where Trackhouse, that third car has always kind of been a struggle bus. We kind of see Daniel Suarez in regards to that, but not to get too much on a tangent there. It's just I thought it was kind of interesting looking at the differences in the programs that they have from the Cup in the O'Reilly Series level. And maybe it's just more that they've run the O'Reilly Series a lot longer than the Cup side, so they're more comfortable with it. Or it might just be the type of car, because obviously they talk about how much the next gen car costs in general, the teams. So it's probably more of a strain on the budget compared to a O'Reilly Series ride or two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was a pretty good overall race. With Larson winning this race, it's his second victory at Las Vegas, I think, and his 18th career win in this series, tying AJ Allmendinger and Denny Hamlin for 19th on the overall list. Pretty big names. Creed, like you said, that was a great finish for him. I mentioned Briscoe, obviously. One thing I did mention is he had a mid-race flat tire and had to drive from the back to the front. So that's also part of the reason why he may have not got as close to the win as we thought he may have done, because that car was rolling early in the race. So, and that's pretty much all the highlights there. 8 cautions, 42 laps, pretty decent caution to green flag ratio. So we weren't just sitting there watching the cars go round and round circles forever without, a little brief mind spacing. We will move to the Cup race, where we've seen a lot of different stuff. Of course, the guy that ended up winning the race led 134 laps, so it's not like it was a shocker kind of win. Those kind of similar elements where we've seen different guys leading for a certain amount of laps. Had Larson up front, Byron, Bell led some laps. I mean, even people like Brad Kay was in front for some cycles on the pit stops. But yeah, man, it was a pretty good race. I felt like I don't think it was nearly as good as Phoenix was. I think Phoenix was exceptional race. Me and you were texting back and forth, and you said like at one point you weren't even picking your phone up, because you were so invested in the race, which is a rarity these days with NASCAR. If you can get a race that's keeping someone's mind like that when they're not at the racetrack, you're doing a pretty good job. Me and Blake's mentioned the Fox coverage has been really decent so far this year. There's a couple of hiccups this go around, just a few thing where it's like, oh, we got to burn the house down, but it was a little bit more noticeable.
Maybe it's because we're coming off of the Phoenix race, which was really entertaining. But this one even for Vegas, it just kind of felt a little underwhelming. There were some good, battles for the lead here and there.
There was a couple of green flags. I know they went 3 wide at one point.
Yeah, the restarts were great.
Yes, restarts are always great at Las Vegas.
Yeah,
They are very
was great.
conducive to good racing.
But it was kind of interesting. The Toyotas were kind of everybody kind of thought they were the manufacturer to beat because they did good in practice, they did good in qualifying. All of them, really. Gibbs, Hamlin, Bell, Reddick, Bubba, they all qualified and practiced really well. But then we started to see, like, as the race kind of began to carry on longer, you had a few Toyotas kind of hang up around the front, but then the Chevys started to make a push. So Larson was up front, Byron was up front, Elliott was kind of mid pack. And then, Allgaier was nowhere to be seen. But, you saw a couple Chevys starting to get in the mix a little bit. Then ultimately Hamlin had the fastest car of the day, and I mean, he had a rocket ship. Even Briscoe, had to come from the back of the field, and he had a really good car as well. So I don't know. It was interesting. That was an interesting aspect of the race to me. It was just kind of seeing that shift of Toyotas were all at the front, and then Hamlin and Bell finished close to each other. But then those Chevys started to kind of push their way up through the pack and started to make things a little interesting. I thought Larson was going to win the race just because of how dominant he was the first two stages. And then, as it sometimes happens with Larson, we've seen this happen at Darlington. Either he uses too much of the car, doesn't get where he needs to get, doesn't get the right lane that he needs to get into for a restart, and he just got shuffled into the back and never could make it out. Because the thing is with Vegas is track position, and props to Hamlin because he came back from a penalty too. Worked his way back up to the field, and then ended up winning the race. Overall, it wasn't my favorite Vegas race by any stretch of the imagination. It wasn't the best race of the year. Honestly, for our first mile and a half, it was kind of underwhelming, but it was a decent race.
Yeah, I feel like Larson's car just looked like it didn't have enough drive in it. I think that it just didn't have the stick that he needed to be able to manipulate the car. Kind of like the opposite of what you seen with the O'Reilly Series races. Towards the end of the run, it seemed like his car got more grip, and that's why he started to shuffle up. You kind of seen similar elements with Chase Elliott, right? He ended up finishing second. It looked like that, maybe another lap or two. Chase Elliott was chasing down Denny Hamlin pretty strongly towards the end of the race, and honestly, it looked like he had a shot to probably contend for that. So that would have been great for him because he's had Hendrick in general has not had a great start to the year in regards to just getting those wins. Usually we see one or two of those wins kind of stapled off. Now we're starting to get into the wheelhouse of like a Martinsville and Darlington, where they're usually pretty decent, but JGR is also really decent at like a Martinsville and Bristol. It's really starting to look like Toyota might be the manufacturer to watch out for this year, because obviously 2311 it's got a couple wins to their belt already. By 2311 I mean Reddick, because man's just been a monster to the start of the year. And then
The owner.
Now the owner gets into victory lane. It's looking pretty good for them overall, so I'm excited for them. Ty Gibbs had a really good day. I mentioned last week it looks like he's about to break through. It seems like this year he's getting closer and closer. Chris Buescher kind of does what Chris Buescher always does. He just sticks around and is able to finish in the top 10 some way. Figures out some way to just show up at the end of the day and progress really good. Reddick looked kind of human. He started, I think, 7th in this race and ended up finishing 13th.
He just could not get anything going. He a half decent restart, and then the pace would just kind of sink back into the field, and then he'd have a good pit stop and bring him up a little bit, and he would just go right back into the middle. It was a tough day for him.
To a point where he's like, hey, I'm going to save tire for the end of the run. And then at the end of the run, it's like nothing. Got absolutely nothing out of it. It was like, why did you even save the tire? It just seemed like he just did not have the car. Another guy that didn't have the car that's usually really good at Las Vegas would be Joey Logano, right? I think of Joey a lot of times when I think of Las Vegas, and really the whole Ford camp in general. The only Ford in the top 10 would be Buescher and Brad, I think. That was kind of shocking to me. I know Penske's it's not a track that they usually have circled every single year, but he's usually pretty decent. And obviously qualified not the greatest. I think, what did he start at? Like 21st?
Yep.
And then ended up 15th, where someone like Allgaier, he qualified really well. I think he qualified around 22nd, which is not bad for, jumping in a car. But he was like in the 40s towards 3/4 of the race, and eventually was able to claw out and get I think a 25th finish, which not great, but it's a lot better than what Alfredo was able to do last week. As a Bowman fan, it kind of does make you feel a little bit better that, it's not necessarily the driver, it's more of the quality of the car, because it just seems like the 48 machine, it doesn't matter who they could throw in this machine. They're probably maybe getting a top 10 out of it if you're lucky, if everything works out really well. Which is crazy because they changed almost everything since last year, except for the crew chief on that 48 machine. So they're making all kinds of changes, and it just seems like it's not doing much of anything. So Bowman is slated to be racing this week at Darlington. So at least he's shown on the entry list now. They might do the old switcheroo halfway through the race, depending on, obviously health and everything. But that's something to watch out for, because obviously he can actually build his points up if he does start the race and is able to be subbed out. So maybe that's something that they're thinking about. Yeah, but honestly, one thing that comes to my mind is the former teammates going at it, right? We had Mr. Daniel Suarez and Ross Chastain kind of having a verbal argument at the end of the race. Had a little bit of contention with rubbing against each other on the cool-down lap, which kind of funneled onto pit road, which was interesting. And Daniel Suarez had a quote that's like, "Hey, our relationship has always kind of been kind of two-faced in my mind," according to talking about Ross, obviously. I don't see that necessarily. Maybe that's how he feels, sure, but to see like the genuine excitement when Suarez won Mexico City, won the Xfinity race back then, when he won that, and seeing Chastain yell and celebration, I don't think you can really fake authenticity like that, but it's definitely a weird dynamic right now when Suarez essentially got quote unquote fired out of his seat, right? So,
well, Chastain was interviewed about it, and they kind of talked about the situation. Just says, he said, we just don't get along. He said, we just have, for some reason, we just don't get along. And get along when we were teammates, and we don't get along now. So Chastain's like, I don't feel like I need to get along with every single driver on the grid. He's like, there's just some guys that I just have issues with. And so, yeah, that's kind of Chastain's side of the story. But I do find it kind of interesting that about every week, Suarez has had an issue with the trackhouse driver, it seems, in some form or fashion. It's like, is it the trackhouse causing this, or is Suarez just kind of bitter about how he kind of got the shaft and is now out with Spire? I don't know. I mean, I kind of like seeing the feisty side of Ross come back. I feel like we've been missing that the last couple of years, and, I think we've been missing that from NASCAR as a whole, because everybody's just so PR trained, right? And we don't really see the feistiness. We don't really see the passion for some of these drivers anymore. I like seeing a good scuffle on pit road. Yeah, I think it's just a result of two things. It's a result of Suarez no longer being a part of the company, and then it's just Ross and Suarez just have conflicting personalities. I think we've seen that in the past. It's like, I don't like you, but you're my teammates. I have to deal with you. And then we're kind of seeing that flesh out now. So, but I thought it was interesting. Ross gave no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He'd try to, calm the situation. He's like, yeah, you don't get along. And just kind of left it at that.
Well, the one thing that if Suarez was quote unquote kind of butthurt about this is Michael McDowell and Carson Hocevar are in front of the top Trackhouse guy in points. They're in front of him currently, which would be SVG. Daniel Suarez is just behind the Spire guys. He in 17th in points. The next closest Trackhouse driver after that is 20th, being Ross. So obviously Spire, they're starting the season off better than Trackhouse universally. Of course, SVG had a pretty good run in regards to the road course. That shouldn't shock anybody. Didn't win the race, obviously, but still had a really good showing and had a really rough day at Las Vegas. Got in that early spin, kind of saved the car off Briscoe, and then kind of broke something and just was never the same afterwards. Zilich got into that pit road fiasco with Ricky Stenhouse trying to pit, and he runs right into the back or runs right through the grass or whatever, and yet Trackhouse does not start off really where Spire actually has. Now, I'm sure once we get to more of these mile and a halves, you'll start to see a little bit more crossover on the Trackhouse side because it seems like that's where they really perform really well. But honestly, looking at Trackhouse and Spire side by side right now, it's really hard to say, hey, one organization is better than the other because they look like they're pretty much on an even playing field based upon just what I see week in to week out so far. But I mean, how many races are we into the season right now?
5?
Yep, 5. It's hard to make a conclusive fact off 5 races. We get a bigger sample size, maybe 10 more, we can kind of make a few more adjustments as we need to. But with Denny Hamlin winning this race, which shout out to Denny Hamlin, obviously he didn't really break a record, but he passed Kevin Harvick on the win list. So that's pretty big in itself. And as Kevin Harvick said, is he's going to have many more past that. He's going to have many more wins in the docket. I don't think people appreciate how much excellence they're seeing with Denny Hamlin in the late stage of his career, where usually, like you see a Jeff Gordon get older, you didn't see him in victory lane, where now we're seeing Hamlin almost in victory lane more than he was in his younger days.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a phenomenon in itself, right? And he even said in his post race that he feels like he just works harder. He's not necessarily as talented as some of the guys that were in front of him. It's just he works really hard to make up that gap. Now, that might just be, being humble at the end of the day.
Right.
But with that win, that puts him up to 4th in points, has 8 positions for the day that he had. Obviously, Reddick's still up front. It's got a pretty good gap. People are going to have to really catch up to him with stringing some wins along. Ty Gibbs is in the top 10 in points. He is now 10th in points. So shout out to him. He's, like I said, he's been showing really well throughout. SVG dropped 11 points, which shouldn't be a shocker. It was a really bad day for him, finishing pretty much, I think, dead last.
11 points or 11 spots?
11 spots, man.
Wow.
Yep. He went from very top, I think he was 5th coming into this week, to, 16th. So he dropped a pretty good amount of points. So obviously was the biggest loser this week in regards to positions. Hamlin and Briscoe were pretty close. Briscoe's not in a good spot, though. He's currently 26 in points, so he's still going to have to channel a few more good finishes along to be able to.
I mean, he's had horrible luck. I mean,
Yeah.
he had flat tires on top of flat tires at Phoenix. I think he got caught up in wrecks at both plate tracks. He's not a road course guy. I think Vegas was probably his first good finish, and even that he still had issues he had to work through.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah, man, it's looking pretty good, spicy for the next week. Obviously, we love Darlington. We talk about how much we love the Darlington Fall Race. I've never been to the spring race there, but where they do the retro weekend in the past, kind of do the throwback schemes. Now, they obviously kind of disbanded that this year, so they're not necessarily requiring cars to do that, but there's still certain manufacturers that are going out and doing it, which is cool. I like that. Different teams decide they want to do that. I'm pretty sure that you're going to see a lot of Biffle stuff this weekend, so that's going to be pretty cool to see.
All of RFK are doing the font.
I think Dinger's running the 16 font too.
Host of ours rolling with the Dale throwback, which looks sick. It looks really good. Like the Wrangler Dale throwback.
Yep. It kind of fits into the Chili's thing too, because they've really personified that so much as like a cowboy with the Ride the Dente. They've really been going on that train.
And Carson's the next Dale Senior, so
yeah, that's what everybody wants to think for sure. So we see 7 championships. He is the next Dale Senior 100%. But he's probably one of the closest people that we got personality wise to him.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But I don't think he's even close still. There's just a certain persona that you kind of have to have. And he just doesn't fit it just yet. Give him a couple years, a little bit older, I think maybe.
I think if Gregson could actually compete, I feel like he would embody Dale Sr. more than anybody because he just has that redneck kind of, vibe to him. But man, he can't get a good finish to save his life.
I view him more like a Tim Richmond almost. I don't know what it is. Like he just kind of has the Tim Richmond-esque feeling to him. But
He's kind of got a Boyer kind of vibe to him too. Like Boyer was the partier, the wild boy when he was in NASCAR. I feel like Gregson kind of embodies that too.
yeah. So, yeah, we're looking forward to Darlington. Obviously, this week we have the trucks back, so I'm excited about that. I think anytime we have the trucks on the grid, it's always great to see. Some noticeables: William Sawaltz will be in the 1. Corey Heim is in the 5 truck. The used to be Tony Breiner's ride. Now they're kind of doing like the 5, trading off every so many weeks. Mr. Sunday, Corey LaJoy in the 25. 42 of Connor Jones, 45 of Ross Chastain, the number 62 of Christopher Bell, Nathan Nicholson in the 76, and the Hocevar in the 77 truck this weekend at Darlington. O'Reilly Series race, we got a whole bunch. Garrett Smithley in the 0. The 5 is to be announced at the current recording time. Number 9 of Ross Chastain, 19 of Christopher Bell. Number 30 of Wyatt Schneider. He was the guy that filled in for Alex Bowman at the road course race. Actually have a diecast of his up there back when you run the truck series. 32 of Rajah Ruth. The 35 is also TBA. 42 of Nathan Bird. He's getting a really good amount of shots in the that car. It's really cool for him. Joey Gase in the 55, Dawson Cram in the 74. Probably the biggest name out of everybody, though, the 88 machine of Kyle Larson. And then also Alex Silve in the 91 machine. And for the Cup race, there's only one open team, quote unquote, and that is the 66 of Timmy Hill, man.
Yeah.
Obviously, Blake's picked to win this week. Like 100%. He's riding and dying with Timmy Hill. So I'm looking forward to him picking Timmy Hill for our Pick'em series. But I guess I'll go ahead and just kind of talk about Darlington's obviously one of those older tracks, so tires always matter when it comes to this racetrack. And they also are racing the same tires that they raced at Darlington last year on the left side. But the right side tires, these debuted at Kansas last September. And if you guys remember that race, it was a phenomenal race with a lot of tire mixed in there. So we should see we'll probably see some tire failures for sure, which does lead into cautions most of the time because we're bouncing off the wall up there. Because 90% of the time, as Austin will tell you probably right here, is people like to run the wall at Darlington.
Yeah, Darlington is a unique breed, and it's just absolutely wild. It's one thing to see it on TV. It's another thing to be there in person, sitting in like turn 4 and seeing how close those jokers are to the wall. And I mean, you see them fight it too. I mean, especially those later runs, you see them working that wheel, trying to stay in the preferred lane. And, they're aggressive at the beginning of the run to try to go to the second or third lane. And then you see them begin to work their way slowly up the track as those tires begin to fall off. I mean, it doesn't take long for those tires to fall off either. What would you say, Cole? How long would it take? How long would it take for those tires to kind of wear down? Like 10 laps?
Yeah, you'll see pretty good fall off from like 10 to 20 laps when it really starts to roll.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, Darlington's an interesting track. It's just barely under a mile and a half, I believe. But still technically counts as a mile and a half, and it's an egg-shaped track. One turn is tighter than the other. So it is a very difficult track. We have said on this podcast before, you do not luck into wins at Darlington. It takes skill to win this. In the last 2 years, we have seen last 2 races, actually, we've seen utter and total domination for most of the race, at least. Fall race, Briscoe, that Bass Pro Shops car was out there almost the entire race. The one who came close to getting him was Reddick, and then by the time Reddick would catch him, it'd be time to pit again. And then in the spring race, Aaron dominated about 90% of the race, and then Hamlin swooped in and was able to take the win away. But you see that time and time again, as that is the main storyline that I take from Darlington. Darlington is a track you do not luck into a win at. Especially, I don't care if you're racing 400 miles or 500 miles, that place is a war of attrition. You have to keep your car off the wall. You have to hope that if you do have a good car and you hit the wall, that car is still running good when you bounce off of it. So, and also the this being a daytime race adds an interesting aspect to it as well. It's going to be warm this weekend in South Carolina. Going to be about 83, 85 degrees this weekend, or this Saturday. The blacktop is going to be hot and slick, and so it makes a really interesting combination with the tires that you mentioned, Cole. So yeah, as you mentioned, Darlington, it's one of the best tracks to go to. I've never been to the spring race. Was hoping to go this year, but I ended up having to be in a wedding. But the fall race is always entertaining as well, because you have that daytime to nighttime kind of vibe, and then with the spring race, you have it starting sunny, and then by the time the race ends, the sun's going down right behind the Earnhardt and Pearson towers. It's right in their eyes when they're coming off that back stretch into turn 3. Yeah, Darlington has a vibe. It's one of the best tracks. And then also seeing those that choose to run throwback schemes as well is always really cool. Paying homage to the drivers before them.
I guess little explanation for you people that really are just getting into NASCAR. So the story of Darlington's crazy, but essentially the track is not symmetrical, right? So it's not like you cut it in half. It's not the same shape. Turn 1 and 2 are totally different from 3 and 4. So that's why teams kind of have to compromise on their setups. So usually you have teams that decide, hey, I'm going to push 1 and 2 really hard, or I'm going to push 3 and 4 really hard. And then they kind of have to do a balancing act back and forth and trying to figure out what they can do. And running the high line like that makes up through that, because obviously you're going to carry the most speed through the corner. And as Austin mentioned, it does play into the tire conservation. It keeps smoother arcs of the corners, so therefore you're not having to turn as hard, which would most of the time, if you're turning really hard, that kind of deduces the tire wear that we see.
And then the interesting thing about the spring race is when the race starts, both turns are all 4 turns are in the sun. As that race progresses, turn 3 and 4 is in the shade, while turn 1 and 2 are dead in the sun. So it's always interesting, because that you have to account for that. If you're a crew chief, you have to account, and a driver, do I want to be in turns 1 and 2, or do I want to be better in turns 3 and 4? And then you have to adjust that based on how the track changes and progresses as the race goes on. Some parts of the track are in the shade, other parts are in the sun. So it's a really interesting dynamic.
So, and then you got to think, like, it's hard to replicate that in practice or qualifying either. So you're really just trying to throw darts at the dartboard, and looking at past runs and stuff that you have data wise, and kind of be able to decide on a run. What side are you going to focus towards? The sunny side at the beginning of the race, and then kind of dial it in when it gets shaded, or are you going to kind of focus on the shaded setup? Because obviously you're going to probably make the most time up in the shaded section. So it's really interesting to see, and that's why the crew chiefs on top of the box make as much money as they do. Even though we like to rag and talk about them all the time, especially when it comes to Kent, talk about the Rudy Fugle and Alan Gustafson from the 9. He likes to get on to them pretty good sometimes. But at the end of the day, man, it's one of those things that they make the money they do because they're some of the best in business to do it. So, but yeah, we're looking forward to it. Of course, as always, we shout out to Wilkerson Catering, being our premier sponsor / partnership on the podcast. Every single week, you will hear us talk about them and rave about them. They've been killing it here in the catering game, and we appreciate their support every single week here. They help us do what we do every week, sit down, record. Not many people know, but it does cost a little bit of money to be able to get your podcast out there. So we appreciate their support and letting us live our dream by doing this just as fun.
Mm-hmm.
So we appreciate Kyle and his family. Of course, if you guys need a catering for any event, they're the people to call, especially in the North Carolina area. You can find their number and their website in the description of every single podcast. All you got to do is click it, send out a little form, and I can tell you they will get back to you lickety split. They are really fast on to responding to all messages and emails. So if you got an event coming up, make sure you go ahead and do it now, because they are already booked for the next few months already. So if you got something that's coming along and you want to get them to do it, you better pick up the phone, or you better get the old typing fingers ready on the email and send it on over. So we appreciate them. So we are going to go ahead and move on to our spicy take segment, which will have Kent joining us. So we're looking forward to that. So we'll see you guys then. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now to the spicy take segment. Austin, buddy, it's going to be your first spicy take of the year, so I'm going to let you take it away. What are you thinking for this weekend at Darlington?
Larson sweeps the weekend.
Okay.
Well, he's not racing truck, but he'll win Xfinity and Cup.
You mean O'Reilly?
Yeah.
Man is dated. He is dated right now. Okay, well, that follows a pretty easy rationale to follow. It's a track that he's usually really good at, but all right, Kent, buddy, what's going to be yours?
Man, spicy take for Darlington. I'm gonna say SVG. I know the past couple of weeks he's been a little cold. I'm gonna say he gets a top 5. I feel like that's spicy for Darlington. I mean,
I will say that we don't see a Cup driver win the truck race or the O'Reilly race this weekend. I think it's going to be all contenders in the series every week. So
Does Heim
kinda,
count?
I guess technically he wouldn't because he's not full-time Cup, but I'll even say him. Heim won't win either, so I'll double down on that.
All right.
Yep, that's gonna be my spicy take segment. And finally, I don't have to do anything other than pick because Austin's here to take over his segment for this week. So we transition it over to him.
All right. How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? It's been a long time. So we haven't done truck in a while, boys. How many weeks has it been since truck? About 3 weeks.
Yeah, since St. Pete.
Yep. So the way that ended out, Kent finished in first that week with Lane Riggs. I finished second with Ben Rhodes. Blake came in third with Colin Braun. And Cole came in last with Jake Garcia. So Cole, my friend, you were up first. You cannot pick Corey LaJoie, Heim, or Garcia. Who are you taking for Darlington?
I'll take Riggs.
Okay, Riggs for Cole. And who does Blake have? Heim, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
And that leaves me. Give me Hosevar. I think I can pick him. I can.
Yeah.
All right, and Kent, you cannot pick McDowell, Bush, or Riggs. Who you got?
I want to say Christopher Bell, but I'm nervous because it's not. I don't know. It's a freezing truck, and I just don't know.
Got Chastain and Nice.
Yeah, he's on wreck though. I don't trust him to finish the truck race. I think he'll do better in the Cup race. Yeah, I'm gonna take Christopher Bell. I'm gonna say he avoids enough trouble and maybe he can get more out of that truck.
All right. So the regular season standings, just as a refresher, Kent is in first place with 135, Blake in second with 90, I'm in third with 75, and Cole came in last every single race this year and has 35 points. Moving on to the O'Reilly's Auto Parts Series. This past weekend, Cole picked Larson to win, which he indeed did win. I picked Chase Briscoe. I came in second. Kent came in third with his Connor Zilic pick. And then Blake rounded out the bottom with Sam Mayer. So, Cole, who does Blake have first on his list?
Bell.
Okay. Kent, you cannot pick Hill, Creed, or Zilic. Who are you rolling with?
Give me Larson.
What? Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so.
That was easy.
That's crazy.
I wonder if he made his pick before they announced that the 88 was going to be Larson instead of Bowman. I mean, Bowman.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Bowman, right?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to go and hope. I can't pick Zilic, Byron, or Briscoe. So I am going to hope and pray that Cole's prediction is true, and I'm going to roll with Gator. All right, Cole, you cannot pick SVG, Jones, or Larson. Who you rolling with? Jeremy Clements, right?
He said Cole Custer.
Give me Sanchez this week.
If only Cole Custer was still.
Yeah. 4 top 5s, man.
I thought we were already talking Cup. I ain't even gonna lie to y'all. I was out.
All right. Looking at the regular season standings, Blake is in first place with 180 points. Kent and Cole are tied for second with 150. And then I'm rounding out the bottom with 80 points going into Darlington weekend. And then Cup Series this past weekend, Kent came in. Wait, that's right. Kent came in first with Hamlin
If I
winning the
did get
race.
first, I don't know how.
No, I was looking at. I was looking at
Was there
mine.
a DQ I didn't know about? Like,
I was looking at mine. Blake came in second with Bell. I came in third with Gibbs, and then Cole came in last with Larson. So, looking at Darlington, Cole, you got first pick. Who are you thinking about?
A Hamlicker, man. Denny Hamlin, back-to-back weeks.
Think he's
yeah.
going back to back, huh?
Yep, I do.
I picked next. I can't pick Bush, Chastain, or Blaney. Honestly, I'm leaning Briscoe. I know his big win last year was in the fall, but man, I feel like he's been racing pretty good. Las Vegas this past week had a horrible start to the race with issues on pit road, came back to the field, and I believe he finished with a pretty respectable finish. He's been fairly consistent throughout the year, and I feel like Darlington's a track he can do well at. So, I might be considering Briscoe going into this weekend. Did Blake say who he was considering for Cup?
He didn't put anybody down, so I'm sure he's considering somebody like Timmy Hill.
Yeah, Timmy Hill's a great pick, great value, picking third. And then Kent, who are you considering picking coming into this week?
It's off limits for me.
Let me pull that up. You cannot pick Briscoe, Chastain, or Hamlin.
I'd probably lean William Byron here. Every now and then you get a driver that, when you go to a track, he just feels like he can win it. There for a while, Chase Elliott on any road course, it was just like he's going to put on the Superman cape at some point, and he might drive it straight into a wall, but he's still going to find a way. Hadn't been the case lately. But William Byron, the spring race at Darlington, I feel like he just circles this one and says, I can win it. It doesn't mean he always does. Sometimes he has very, impatient and untalented drivers who aren't able to pass without making significant contact that, boot him into the fence. But kind of like Austin Dillon at Richmond, he's got this track figured out in the spring, and I think he's gonna. I think he can do it.
All right. But looking at our points, Blake is holding on to the lead with 175. Myself and Kent are tied for second with 120, and Cole is in last with 110. So everything's still pretty tight. We've learned that with one good week, that's all you need to get yourself back into contention.
Thank
So,
God.
Man can miss a week and it doesn't kill him. Crazy.
yeah.
I knew what I was doing when I
And-
put this point system together.
Mm-hmm.
I rigged it.
Rigged.
So that's why
Oh.
Blake's in the lead, right?
That's right. It's fail safe. Aimed towards the
Look.
worst picker. And
Man is 10 points. 10 points ahead of me, and he says, I made the system to benefit me, baby. Only me.
Oh man.
Oh
I
man.
went from
So
last, tied for second.
that's what I did last
I
week.
don't want. I know. I was gonna say I don't want to talk about how many points I'm behind first, but still, the principle of that.
So we will look forward to Darlington, and next week we'll be picking for Cup and O'Reilly for Martinsville. We will not pick the trucks again till Easter weekend for.
And it feels like trucks really just get the bad end of the stick sometimes. They really don't race that much. And I feel like they put some of the best racing on week in to week out. Like, not having the trucks in Martinsville is crazy to me. They should probably run Martinsville every time they're there. But what do I know? What do I know? All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we're going to end it right there. We will see you guys next week. Hopefully, we'll have all three of us here once again in a colluded effort. And y'all take care of yourselves. Enjoy the racing. And we will see you on, Wednesday. See ya.